geometry really deals with studying angles and how angles work. Um, yeah, so I can't really get into more detail than that because it's going to be confusing and it's not going to make sense. I'm going to spend too much time on it, but it's really a study of how angles work. So I don't want to say it's similar to geometry, but it really, really deals with angles and relationships between angles, really. So that's that on that. And then yes, we are revising how we represent relationships. Now, what I want you guys to remember is that we spoke about a relationship and what a relationship is. And we also spoke about there are different ways in which we can represent relationships. And I actually kind of wish I didn't put it all in my heading over here because I would have wanted you guys to tell me what are the ways in which we can represent relationships. So we can represent one relationship, the same relationship, either using a flow diagram or table or formula or a graph. By the way, this word over here reads formulae, and it's just a plural of formula. Okay. So that is that on that. I'm not going to spend too much time explaining as much as I'm going to spend time answering the questions. So anybody want to help me fill out the answers to this flow diagram? Immediately, yes.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi,
How are you, ma'am?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm good, ma'am. So for the first one, it's going to be negative 1 times
Mm-hmm.
negative 1 times 2, which is going to be negative 2
Mm-hmm.
plus 1,
Uh-huh.
which is going to be negative negative 1, ma'am.
Negative one, 100%. Okay. You helping with just that one or all of them?
All of them, ma'am.
Okay, cool. What's next?
The next one's going to be 0 times 2, which is 0,
Mm-hmm.
plus 1, which is 1.
100%. Next one.
The next one, 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1, which is 7.
6 plus 1, which is 7. Great stuff. And last.
So x times 2 is
Mm-hmm.
x squared.
No.
X times 2 is 2x
Yep.
plus 1 is 3x, ma'am.
Nope. So remember, whenever we're doing addition or subtraction for that matter, we are applying our like term rules. And so when we apply our like term rules, we can't add terms that aren't the same. You remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And so 2x plus 1 is as far as we can go because 2x and 1, those are not like terms. We aren't doing multiplication, so I can't go and say, 2x squared or something. I can only add like terms. These are not like terms, and therefore I cannot add them. So that is as far as we get there. 2x plus 1. Happy?
Yes, ma'am.
Immediately, I would like to ask you a question. Oh, sorry, I just remembered something. I was supposed to spotlight myself and I didn't. Okay, but I did now. I did now, so that's okay. Um, we spoke about when we spoke about flow diagrams immediately, we spoke about inputs and we spoke about outputs. Which side
Yes, ma'am.
of this flow diagram has my inputs and which side has my outputs?
The left side is the inputs, and then the right side is the outputs, ma'am.
100%. And we also spoke about x values and y values. Which side is the x values and which side is the y values?
The left side is the x value, and then the right side is the y value.
100%. Thank you so much, Imithle, for answering and participating.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So, in case anybody has forgotten, some revision is that when we deal with these relationships, we have inputs into our relationship. And instead of writing inputs the whole time, we like to make life easy. And just for short, we call our inputs X. Okay? And then when we take our inputs and we apply a rule to our input, remember, we take our input, we apply a rule to it, and that gives us our output. And instead of saying output, output, output the whole time, we like to just call our output Y. So that's that, a little bit of a recap on relationships. I hope things are starting to come back to you and make sense and falling into place. And you're like, oh, yes, I remember this. This is cool. This is easy. This is good. I'm gonna do this table and then I'll see how you guys are feeling about that. Number 2, consider the relationship represented by the values in the table below. First things first, let us complete the table. Anybody want to help me complete the table? We have Imise, who's our eager beaver today. Itandile, let's go, a new voice.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good, thank you. You helping me complete the table, or do you have a question?
I'm helping you complete the table, and I have a question.
Okay, which one do you want to do first?
I want to complete the table first.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Okay. So, ma'am, when I figured out 7, or how, like, when I figured out the y values, ma'am, I figured out the difference between 7 and 5 is 3, was -2, sorry. Then when I went again and I said 5, minus -2, which the difference was still -2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I over, ma'am, and then I came to -1.
Mm-hmm.
Use, ma'am, again. I don't know if I was supposed to say -1 minus 2, or was I supposed to say -1 plus 2?
To get from 1 to -1.
Ma'am?
Are you asking me, what were you saying you didn't know how to minus? You didn't know how to get from 1 to -1.
No, ma'am. I was saying from
Mm-hmm.
-1 to get to the next term. I was
Mm-hmm.
asking them, was I supposed to say -1 plus 2 or -1 minus 2?
So the way I always like to think of it is whatever this difference is at the bottom here, you're always adding it, right?
Yes,
So in
yes,
other
ma'am.
words, here we went 3 plus -2 gave us 1.
1.
So here you're going to say -1 plus -2. And plus negative just makes -2. And
Yes, ma'am.
so -1 minus 2 gives us what?
Positive 1.
Mm-mm. No, so let us go and do our trusty little number line. So here we have 0, 1, 2, 3. Here we have -1, -2, -3, -4. Itandile, tell me, what are we starting at? What number on the number line do we start at?
-1.
We're starting at -1. And are we doing addition or subtraction in the sum?
Now we're doing addition. Oh, we're doing
Okay.
subtraction.
We were doing addition because I said it's plus -2. But when we simplify that
Yes,
plus -2, it boils down to 1 or -1 minus 2. Do you see that?
yes, ma'am.
So actually what I'm doing is I'm minusing 2. So I'm doing minus. When I do subtraction, do I
Yes,
go
ma'am.
to the left or do I go to the right on my number line?
I go to the left.
We go to the left. When we're adding, we can see we go to the right. So I start at -1 and I have to go to the left twice because I'm -2. And where do I end up?
At -3.
At -3. Okay, now that we know that, can you do the next two for me?
Yes, ma'am. So -3
Mm-hmm.
with -2, which is gonna get me -1, which is gonna get me -4. No, it's gonna get me -5.
Mm-hmm.
And
-5.
then
How did we get there? We started at -3 this time and went backwards twice. So you are correct there. It's -5.
my next answer is -7.
100%. We started at -5. We subtracted 2 and we got -7. Okay. 20 we're not going to do. We'll do that when we answer the questions in, well, at the bottom. Okay, cool. Thanks, Itandile.
I put it
For
on my
that, immediately I know you raised your hand. Do you want to help me answer A, B, or A or B?
I would like to answer number B, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Stay here with me for now. Oh wait, I was gonna answer A by myself, but Rory-san, do you want to help me answer A?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Describe the pattern above in words. How would you describe it for me, Rory-san?
Ma'am, I forgot name, Mara. I think I'll just keep it simple and say -2.
You wouldn't be entirely wrong by saying that. The way that we can phrase it would be -2 to get to the next term. But you should have gotten your mark just for saying -2. -2 to get to the next term. Because remember, Rory-san, when we describe a pattern in words, all we want to know is what do we have to do to go from one term to the next term? And when you said -2, you're 100% correct.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you for answering that for me, Rory-san. Very well done. Just so you guys know, you could have also said you add -2. Because remember, like I said, you add -2, but it's the same thing as just minusing 2. So they're the same thing. You could say -2 or you could say add -2. So that was that. Okay, I'm gonna lower Itandile and Rory-san's hands. Immediately, you still with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's answer B.
So, ma'am, I said y equals x -2, ma'am.
Okay. What I want you, is that your final answer?
Oh, wait, no, ma'am. Sorry, it's. Oh, wait, no, I see it now, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Y equals x -2 plus 1.
You're close, but not quite. But what I want you to see is this. You're saying y is equals to x -2 plus 1. What I want you to do immediately, whenever you find these rules, you do a check. Do a check for yourself. So let's pick this first pair over here. Let's substitute in the x value and let's see if we get out the y value we're supposed to. So let's look at this rule. Let's substitute in -3 instead of x and then -2 plus 1. Okay, so let's go back to our number line over here, which will be super helpful for us. So we're starting at -3. You see that immediately.
Yes, ma'am.
And then if we -2, we're going to go twice to the left. And then we end up at -5. Then we start at -5 and we have to plus 1. So we end up with -4 as my answer. Do you see that?
I see now, ma'am.
So does it actually give us the output that we wanted?
No, ma'am.
No. The output that we wanted was 7. And so immediately when we get this rule and I see, okay, well, it doesn't give me the output that I want, I know I did something wrong. So I go back, I erase everything, I go back to the drawing board and I see how I can do it. So immediately let's look at it. The first step, remember, is you multiply your input with your constant difference. Okay. Now, what is my constant difference? My constant difference, remember, is this over here. That is what we call our constant difference. So my input I already know is going to be x. And if I multiply it with my constant difference, it's going to give me minus 2x. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Now, I don't know if I'm going to mess up. Yep. There we go. Now, what we want to do next is we go and we test it. So let's test it now. If we go and we say, well, -2, and let's put in -3 again. Remember, when my x value is -3, what do I want my output to be immediately?
7, ma'am.
7. So I've put in my x value here as -3. -2 times -3 gives me what?
It's 6, ma'am.
6, 100%. To anybody who's confused, how did we get that? Well, we said it's a negative times a negative, which gave us a positive answer. And then 2 times 3 was 6. So it's 6. So immediately, does my formula at this moment give me the output that I want?
No, not yet, ma'am.
No. But what do I have to do to 6 to get it to be 7?
Plus 1, ma'am.
Plus 1. And so what I know is I need to add 1 to my formula. And so the last step is then to write out our formula. So immediately, can you tell me now what you think the formula is going to be?
It's going to be y equals -2x plus 1, ma'am.
100%. Super, super well done. Thank you for answering with me again.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Great. And let's see who is saying what in our chat. Okay, yes. Well done to those of you who got it in the chat. That's cool. So now we have recapped flow diagrams, tables, describing patterns in words, finding a general rule. Now that we have this general rule, what I want us to do is fill in what my output is going to be here when my input is 20. Anybody want to help me with that? Rory-san, yes.
Ma'am, I think the answer is gonna be 41.
Okay, can you tell me how you got that?
Ma'am, since I multiplied it by the constant difference, which is 2, and then I got -40, and then I plus 1, which I'm wrong, which is gonna be -39.
Okay, so remember, you were supposed to multiply it not just by 2, but by -2. So,
Yes,
in other words, we went -2 times 20, which gives us what, Rory-san?
-40.
-40 and plus 1, and then you were right in saying -39.
-39. Welcome,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you. Oh, you even said welcome before I said thank you. Thanks, Rory-san, for that. Very, very well done. So guys, look how easy it is. Once we have our formula, all we have to do to find now any input or any output is substitute one value, and then we can calculate the missing one. So that's that. The next thing that we have to do is it says we have to draw a graph to represent the relationship between X and Y. Now, can anybody tell me what was the name of this thing where we draw our graphs on? What was the name of the space? Yes, Bree.
It was a Cartesian plane.
Very, very well done. Bree, while you're here, do you remember on the Cartesian plane, there were two axes. Which one is the x-axis and which one is the y-axis?
The x-axis. Okay. Yeah, the x-axis is on the vertical. Oh no, wait, it's on the horizontal line,
Mm-hmm.
and then the y-axis x-axis is on the vertical line.
Yes. Yes, so like I said, I remember telling you guys I used to say Y to the sky because that's the arrow pointing upwards. So that's how I remember that. So that is very well done. Thank you, Bree. Bree, did you want to help me answer this whole question, or were you just answering what was the Cartesian plane?
I was answering what the Cartesian plane was.
Okay, cool. Good. Thank you for that, Bree. Rory-san, do you have a question or you want to answer?
And I wanna answer.
Yay, you guys are making me happy today. Okay. Rory-san, we have our x-axis, we have our y-axis. Sorry, apologies. I don't know where my phone is. Yes, we have our x-axis, we have our y-axis. What is the next step? What do I have to do now to draw this graph?
Ma'am, I'm gonna put a 0 in the middle there.
Oh, yes.
And then from that 0 going up, it's gonna be positive, and then going down it's gonna be negative, and then on the right side it's gonna be positive, then left is gonna be negative.
Rory-san, you are making my whole day. You are
Welcome, ma'am.
my whole day. I love it when I feel like my teaching is not going to waste, you know? There we
Yes,
go.
ma'am.
So, oh, that was a very ugly line. So we're gonna label it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let me move this chat because it's blocking me. 6, and I'm just gonna go up to 7 over here, and then -1, -2, -3. Oh my gosh, phone, stop it. Okay, sorry, I fixed that. -3, -4, -5, and -6. What's next, son?
You okay, sharp. I'm lost, ma'am. I don't know what's next.
What's next is, remember, Itandile is close. She's saying our ratio, but Itandile is not quite a ratio. Remember, on our Cartesian plane, we can plot what we call coordinates. Rory-san, do you remember the format of coordinates, maybe?
Ma'am, can you please like
There you go. I've written it there. Does this ring a bell, Rory-san? Our x value first and then the y value.
Oh yeah, now I remember.
There we go. Okay, so if I go back to my table, what I can see is that I have this whole top row of x values and I have the whole bottom row of y values. So I can go now and I can take the answers in my table and create coordinates, right? And so if I were to create a coordinate using these two, Rory-san, can you see my coordinate point would look like -3 and 7. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
What would the next coordinate be?
-2 and 5.
And 5. Next one?
-1 and 3. 0, 1, 1, -1, 2, -3, 3, -5,
Okay,
4,
and I think that is
-7.
enough for us. 3 and -5. So we're going to stop there because I don't have space.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
next thing we are going to do is we are going to plot our points. Roy-san, do you remember how to plot points?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to enable the annotation. And Rory-san, I want you to see if you can try and plot these points by yourself.
Yes.
So Rory-san, I want you to plot the first 3 points over here. So that's an R for you. Who else was answering? Itandile, I want you to answer. I want to see if you can plot these ones. And Bree, you can do the last one. I saw your hand go up. There's only one left, but you can do this green one. So we have Rory Sang, Itandile, and Bree. Use the annotation, plot the points on the screen. Itandile, your hand is up. Yes.
Ma'am, should
Oh
I
no,
start?
ma'am. I thought you were
Yes,
calling my
Rory.
name. I thought you were calling my name, ma'am. Sorry.
Well, I technically am. Itandile, will you be okay with plotting our points for us?
I don't mind, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead and start. Rory-san, you can start as well. Bree, you can start. You don't have to take turns. Just plot.
Yeah.
So this is the here. So
Okay, Rory-san. So remember, you guys, the first number is gonna be your x value. So Rory-san, your first one, you're gonna go to -3 on your x-axis, and
Yes,
then
ma'am.
you're gonna go to 7 on the y-axis. And where those two lines would meet, that's where your point is gonna be.
And then, ma'am, after that, do I combine it?
Well, you've plotted your point perfectly, because remember we went. Remember, Rory-san, where you've done now went and drawn this point. Remember, we were
Yes,
supposed to
ma'am.
go to -3 on our x-axis. Okay, so -3 on
Yes,
our
ma'am.
x-axis is here. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
You've gone to -3 on our y-axis. So let's reroute ourselves. Let's go to -3 on our x-axis, which is here. So that's this line here. Do you see, Rory-san?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're on -3. Now that we're on -3, we have to go to +7. Okay, so you can see +7 is going to be outside of our graph, right? Because 6 was going to be here and 7 was going to be somewhere here. But can you see that
Yes,
the
ma'am.
point would have been like somewhere here where I've drawn it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool.
Yes, ma'am.
So now I've done the first point for you. Rory-san, try the second and third point.
Okay, ma'am.
then
Sorry,
is it
it's a
to
here.
ma'am?
Yes, Isandra, I heard you saying something that you need help as well.
No, ma'am. I'm just talking to myself and thinking. I'm very sorry.
Okay. Rory-san, you are on
No, ma'am.
-2, but you need to go to +5.
Oh.
So you're
Now I
close.
see.
You're not far off. You are not far off. Itandile, let's check yours. You are on 0 and 1. So Itandile, where you're supposed to be, your first point should be here. Okay.
Oh,
And
yes, ma'am.
your next point should be at 1
One.
and -1,
Negative.
which is where
Yes, ma'am.
Itandile.
It's supposed to be there.
Okay.
Cause it's
Ma'am, I done it perfect.
Yes, you did, Rory-san. You did. Itandile, you are close. Look at what we're doing. Sorry, Rory-san. Give me a second. This is a little bit chaotic. Itandile, let's talk to you super quickly. What was I saying? Yes, your first point is correct. It's there where my green line is. Now, the next point we wanted to do was 1 and -1. So you were supposed to go to 1 over here and -1. So remember, the lines are a little bit confusing now because the little lines look like it's negatives. But remember, the bottom of the y-axis is what's negative. So your
Yes,
second
ma'am.
point should be over here. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
There we go. So try to do the third point, and I see all of our dots are starting to match up with each other. Bree, I see you fixing yours as well. Great, great, great. Okay, the chaos wasn't for nothing. We're coming together slowly. And there we go, guys. Happy days. Bree has given us a little bit of a point over there. And once we've plotted all our points, now because we were all different people doing the points, they're a little bit skew, but you can see it gives us that general line. Okay, so that is that on us plotting our points. Thank you guys
Can I match
to
our
Roy-san, yes?
Can I match my points?
Yes, you can. You can. Oh.
Ma'am, I'm not gonna lie, the lines did confuse me for the Y thingy. And then you
Yes.
explained, and then I'm like, wait, no, it's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
under there.
But you fixed it just before I got to you, Bree, so that was great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So thank you to you three who have answered for me. That was very nicely done from you guys. I'm going to remove all our annotations again. And then I'm not gonna disable it. I just trust you guys not to draw on my screen. So just for anybody who was confused, because I will say it was a little bit chaotic, but I like it when we interact with the lesson. So what we had to do was, remember our coordinates are in the form of X and Y. So if I go and I take a random point and show you guys what we just did to draw these points, well, I first needed to go to -2 on my X axis. Remember, this is my X axis. So I go to -2, which is over here. This whole line in pink now represents my -2 line. Then I had to go to 5, but it's a +5 on my y-axis. And so I see +5 is over here. So this whole thing is +5. And now where these two lines meet, which is right over here, is where my coordinate point should have been. And then what we ended up doing was, I remember there was a point here and a point here. And I remember, I think Bree had her point somewhere here. No, it was here, I think. Bree had her point here. Yes. And once we have drawn up all of these coordinate points, you're going to use the same method for every single point. All you do is you take a ruler and you'll see, because now I drew all of these points myself, it matches up a lot nicer, a lot nicer. When we were all doing our own points, everyone was doing it a little bit skew, so it was hard to match them up. But you can see once you've plotted all your points, they should all match up nicely into a straight line. So that is that on our relationships. Any questions on this? I think now is the time for you guys to give me a thumbs up in the chat while I take these two questions. Just so that I know where we are on this. Yes, Rory-san.
Ma'am, can I please answer the first brain break?
That's okay. It's not a would you rather. No, it's not what do we normally do? Well, it's not one must go. But you can definitely answer the first one. And Itandile, do you have a question, or are you also answering my brain break?
Ma'am, I don't have a question. Ma'am, I do think I'm correcting you, but then I don't also think. Ma'am, remember the third one on when you go to when you circled for me where since I was doing 3. Ma'am, you forgot another coordinate 2 to -3, and you forgot to make a point there.
Yes. Yes, I did. You are correct. So we didn't actually fill this in, but you'll see that, like here, I haven't filled in this, right? Oh, are you
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about here? You're talking about on here, I haven't filled in that point.
Yes, ma'am. You haven't filled it on the
Yes.
Cartesian plane.
Yes. So that's okay, because you'll see I don't actually need to do all of these points. I could have even skipped this middle point and this point and still taken my line and just joined these two. Okay, well, that didn't give me a straight line, but do you see what I mean, Itandile?
Yes, ma'am.
There we
So
go.
your teacher can mark you even if you did 2 only.
Well, it depends. Sometimes marks are allocated for doing like at least 4 points. So I would never advise you to only do 2, but you definitely will still get some sort of marks if you just do 2.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay. Uh, Rory-san, definitely not what you were expecting. I can tell you that. If you're still happy to answer, I'm happy for you to answer. Do you have an answer?
Now, on second thought, ma'am, can I do the last one, ma'am?
Okay. Okay, you can do the last one. I am gonna ask. Oh, everybody's hands went down. Okay, Bree, your hand is up.
Ma'am, the clue says it's not 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if I'm guessing correctly, it's 1, 2, 3, 4,
Mm-hmm.
5,
Mm-hmm.
6
Uh-huh.
circles.
Not
Is that it?
6. You're close. Where did you get the 6 from?
How has like a circle or O, and
Yeah.
then do, oh, and
Uh-huh.
also U
Uh-huh.
and not. So it's actually 7.
There you go. Total answer 7. Thank you, Bree, for that.
Okay, ma'am.
Let's see who got it in the chat. Kamal got it in the chat. Liako was close, but not 8. And Nikuli was also close. Next one. Can you spot the different color? Haley, hi.
Hey, ma'am.
Hi, annotation is on. You are more than welcome to circle it if you see it.
Ma'am. These brain break questions of today. Is it
Yes, that was Kamal that
the
highlighted it.
block?
Yes. Do you see that it's not the same as the rest of them?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that was it. Kaylee, do you want to answer the next
Ma'am.
one? I
Yes,
actually
please,
can't remember
ma'am.
what the next one is, but let me erase the circle so I can scroll. Okay, another one, Kaylee. Which letter do you see?
Yo, ma'am. You see now, today, these brain break questions.
I love things like this. They make me use my brain, and then now I'm like trying to see, to prove I know what. There we go. It's an E. Kaylee, do you see where the E is?
No, ma'am. I think I'm blind because I can't look like all these dots. Oh, now I see.
Yeah, it's an E, Kaylee.
Oh, hi, ma'am. Be patient.
Sorry, I do apologize. Itandile, thank you for that.
Okay.
Um, please, can somebody erase this E? Thank you. Kaylee, no, I'm lying. Kaylee, I promised Rory-san you would do the last one. I don't know if you still want to do it, but if you have the answer, you're more than welcome to put it in the chat. Thank you for answering us. And then
Ma'am,
Liako, you also have your hand up.
Yes,
So you
ma'am.
and
It's definitely
Rory-san.
B, ma'am. It's definitely B, ma'am. B is the biggest.
Rory-san, no, yeah, Rory-san, do you agree with Liako?
ma'am, I don't know, ma'am. I think they're the same size.
Oh my gosh, you will be
Ma'am,
so happy to
ma'am,
know.
I'm just saying, ma'am. Are you sure, ma'am? This is actually a brain break, ma'am.
Yay!
It's making us think.
I'm right.
Don't you like these questions, guys? Come on.
They're
Ma'am, can
tough,
you do
ma'am.
more of them, ma'am? Can you do more of them?
I do. In my next like lessons, I do have more questions like these, but they're more fun. I promise they're better. These ones were like the first ones I did like this, so I obviously use like very dumb ones. But the next ones will be better.
Yeah,
So Rory-san, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for participating.
welcome.
Everybody said B. Shady said both. Good answer. I'm glad it ended. Kaylee, I'm putting your hand down. If you have a question, you're more than welcome to raise it again. Nkuli, I like to switch it up, I think switching it up is fun. Okay. Moving on, we have our exponents. Now, I did take a little bit longer to do our, what was it called? Number patterns, our relationships. So this is going to be a very quick crash course. First things first, remember our exponent rules. we had when we have multiplication that has the same base, what's the rule? The rule is that we add exponents. The next rule that we have is when we are dividing powers, specifically with the same base, what we have to do is subtract the exponents. Very quick recap. Next one, we raise a power to a power. When we raise a power to a power, so let's go back to blue. When we raise a power to a power, and what does that mean? Remember, that's just when we have an exponent outside our bracket. So there's not two bases here. There's two exponents and one base. Okay? With the first one, there's two bases and two exponents. So just pay attention to the difference there. When we have a power being raised to a power, my rule is that I multiply exponents. So we can see now when we had law 1, we added exponents. For law 2, we subtracted exponents. And now for law 3, we multiplied the exponents. Then the rest of them is a little bit of a variation. When we have a product to a power. Now, what do I mean when I say a product? If you look at this example in here, -2x4, y5, or I should say x to the power of 4, y to the power of 5. What that actually means is it means -2 times x to the power of 4 times y to the power of 5. So that's why we call it a product. When there's a product being raised to a power, we have to multiply this exponent to each factor inside the brackets. Okay, and so you'll see here what they've done is they went -2 cubed, x to the power of 4 times 3, y to the power of 5 times 3. And once we multiply all of that out, we get our final answer. Yes, Itandile.
Ma'am, what if our coefficient was outside the bracket? Would we still do the same thing where our exponent that's outside the bracket, should we multiply it with the coefficient that's outside the bracket?
No. So if we had a coefficient outside the bracket and then we had xy squared and then cubed here, what you would do is you take your cubed into your bracket first. And this, in this case, would give us 2. And this would be x cubed y to the power of 6. How did I get that? I went 1 times 3, which gave me 3. And 2 times 3 here,
Ma'am,
which
it's
gave me
5.
6.
2
So
times.
remember, the rule here is that we multiply our exponents. I'm not adding the exponents now. There's no two bases. Remember, Itandile.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. And now once we have that, then I can multiply my coefficient to my bracket. And in this case, because there's only one term inside my bracket, it's just going to give me 2x cubed y to the power of 6. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There we go. That is that to answer that question. Moving on. Second last rule, we have raising a quotient to a power. A quotient is just a fraction. Remember, quotient means division, and we know fractions mean division. What is my rule? My rule says when I raise a quotient to a power, I raise the numerator. Where's my green? We have to raise the numerator and the denominator to the power. So you'll take the 3, multiply it into the 7, and multiply it into the 3. But also not just those exponents, also multiply it into the 4 and the 5. So I don't know if that made any sense to you guys. Let me expand this a little bit. So we went 4 cubed x 7 times 3 over 5 cubed y 3 times 3. And that is how we got this final answer. 4 cubed is 64. X 7 times 3 was 21. 5 cubed is 125. And 3 times 3 there was 9. Last rule before we close off is our zero exponent. Any number raised to the power of 0. This is correct. Anything? Last rule, any number raised to the power of 0 is equals to 1. And I think we've still been practicing this in all of the questions we've been doing. Any number raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Anything, it can be 1,000,000 to the power of 0 equals 1. Anything, if it has an exponent of 0, your answer is going to equal 1. And that is that for the recap of our exponent rules. I do have questions we were meant to do in class today, which we didn't quite get around to doing. I'm putting them here on our screen for you guys to screenshot if you want to do them.